Hi everyone and welcome along. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are celebrating the work that my patrons have been doing over the last few years. The watercolour paintings that we've been doing on exclusive Patreon platforms, and I just thought it would be an amazing opportunity to show some of you what we've been getting up to and to just celebrate the wonderful painting community that we've formed over on Patreon. So let's have a look. I've accumulated so many paintings over the years through Patreon and YouTube tutorials, and it's just so lovely to look back. So here are some of mine, and as I go through and talk to you about them, you'll be also seeing some of my patrons' paintings of the same things and some of their work as well, just to show you how different some of the tutorials are from the YouTube ones. Well, let's just look. So for example, we love to paint flowers on Patreon, and this tulip was not only a lovely little study, but it was also a really great opportunity for us to all look at how to paint glass as well, and also how the flower sits in the glass. Flower painting is obviously something very close to my heart, and you don't have to be a really skilled or experienced painter with Patreon. It's exactly the same as YouTube. It's all abilities welcome, and we go slowly and we work on topics and we build up our knowledge. So whereas in YouTube we will look at one thing one week, on Patreon we did flower borders and we tried lots of different types over the course of about 5 or 6 weeks. And then we also look at just different styles of painting as well. So here is a lovely detailed rose. This was a really popular one, something I don't do a huge amount of, certainly not on YouTube, but I will respond to what my patrons want to see and want to learn. And then obviously flowers and nature are a huge inspiration, and that takes us into other topics as well. I love painting miniatures, and that is something you do see me do on YouTube, but on Patreon what we also love to do is I like to get to know my painting community, and we all painted a shelf of items, of our favourite items that meant something to us. So it wasn't just a case of learning step by step from me, it was a case of stretching the creative muscle, and you can see that people did some really cool stuff. As I said, nature is the ultimate inspiration, so often it comes back to going and studying that. We did 6 weeks on trees and culminated in this lovely silver birch painting, but of course we get to have a lot of fun painting different scenes as well. So this was a particularly popular one, beg your pardon, and I think flowers are just, they're great fun inspiration. This was a really fun tutorial that we all did together. This was when we started looking at painting buildings and also people, because painting watercolour people is something that a lot of people don't quite know where to begin. Well, we've done that on Patreon, and the beauty of Patreon is, of course, we have 2.5 years worth of content, and that is available for anybody who joins at any point. You just pick up wherever you want and go at your own pace. On Patreon, we get to go slow and in loads more detail than I could ever imagine on YouTube. So this was one of our first big projects, the country cottage, and we painted this over sort of 5-6 week sessions. So we do one watercolour tutorial a week where I talk you through in great detail how to create wood effects, thatch roofs, trees in the distance, things in the foreground, and just build up everyone's confidence as a painter so that we get to the point where we're all painting things like this. And this is our most recent landscape painting. So my landscape paintings can really vary. This was a really fun one on a slightly mid-century style theme. It was a little bit retro, real fun at Christmas time and winter. And then also we do things just a little bit more like a storybook illustration. This had plenty of new things for everyone to learn. And I know this was a really popular one because, again, everybody took their own interpretation of it, and we had different potting sheds, different things in the gardens, and it was just lovely, and everybody gets to share their work with each other and me on our Discord platform, where we will post paintings, works in progress, and people can go, oh, I'm really struggling with this bit or whatever, and I'm there as well as everybody else to cheer them on and also offer some advice. So you can see these tutorials, these are lovely and in-depth and detailed and like really quite different to the kind of things that we do on YouTube sometimes. So if this is the kind of thing that makes you, oh, I really want to do this, I'm quite excited but I don't know where to start, then you should really have a look at joining my Patreon. I think one other big difference with my Patreon is it's not all about perfect finished results. We sketch, we play around with ideas, and no more so than in my once a month live stream session I do with my top tier patrons, where we do things like play around with different cat painting positions. We just have a load of fun basically. So these are just a few more paintings that have been particularly popular. We love to paint animals, and you can see painting an animal and actually placing it in a kind of landscape background is also just really fun. This was another live stream that we did. So the live stream is great fun. You've got me on Zoom doing a painting session with you. It's just a few of the more recent things we've done. Obviously birds are very popular. And yeah, I'm there, I'm painting with you. This one we only did this weekend actually. So it's obviously a lot to do with nature, and that's what I find my biggest inspiration from. But one of the other really exciting things about joining my Patreon is you get to have your say in what tutorials actually come out on YouTube, the public YouTube tutorials that you watch every week. Well, let me show you some of the more recent tutorials that were actually requested by patrons. So this lovely fox in the snow, requested by a patron. Still life, requested by a patron. You're going to work out the theme here. But all of these things, if you have something you would really love me to paint, then the best way to do it is to sign up, and just from £2 a month you can be helping tailor what we paint and what you see on YouTube. All of these ones requested. So the water drops, it's upside down. This was a big one. This one was asked, requested a lot, and it was something that I took the time to work out how to do, and yeah, did it for my patrons and for the wider YouTube community. So that's the lovely thing in Patreon, is you really get to have ownership over a lot of the content that you're subscribing to. And then this one, again, one of my most popular YouTube tutorials, was in fact a Patreon requested topic. So have your say on YouTube by joining Patreon for as little as £2 a month. And I'm gonna lead us out with just a few more of my patrons' paintings that they're particularly proud of. I absolutely adore my painting community, and I really hope you're inspired to come along and join us and get so much more out of your watercolour painting.